Hi, my name is Anton Zelenin and I spearhead the commerce business unit at Xsolla. We are at the forefront of the industry, in the trenches with the developers. With our finger on the pulse, we're able to identify new trends before they become reality. A year ago, my team identified a new trend that was going to quickly change how people would play games in the future all around the world. Before we start talking about that, let's deep dive into what has been happening in the games industry for the last several years. Developers created amazing games on different platforms and using different business models. Many were obsessed with pre-orders. Yet, a lot of developers used their early access period as the time to polish their concepts, basically selling games they knew would not truly be ready to launch. Bigger studios started to offer battle passes and went cross-platform to maximize their players' social experiences, as well as their own monetization practices. Smaller studios turned to crowdfunding through Kickstarter or Indiegogo to get development resources. And many game developers tried self-publishing for the first time. Now, this last bit is an interesting trend. It may seem controversial, but in fact, it's logical when you look at the rise of companies like Xsolla and other commerce platforms. You might ask, what is the motivation of game developers to self-publish their games? Simply stated, they're solving many problems. Without a doubt, the biggest issue that all game developers currently face is discoverability. This is true for PC, console, and mobile games. Because of the improvements in technology and the ease of access to that technology, the market is saturated right now. There are hundreds of new games released each week. At the end of 2020, there were almost 500,000 mobile gaming apps on the Google Play Store. And who knows how many more on other platforms. This level of saturation basically renders many games invisible to a potential player. That can lead to huge increases in marketing budgets just so a game gets seen, especially on the mobile platforms where there is a big fight for eyeballs happening these days, and there were very few tools or avenues to actually promote your game. The unfortunate reality is that simply making a good game doesn't guarantee its success. Chances are pretty small that someone would notice it organically and it goes viral. I also want to note an important fact about platforms in particular. Their primary customer is the user, not a developer. Therefore, it's not a surprise that when they change the rules, they do it to accommodate the needs of the user in the first place. As a business, with the product on these platforms, you have to work within their limitations and restrictions. If you want to be featured or shown in top search results, you have to do everything on their terms and follow their policies. Now, imagine if there were additional options. What if potential players could find your game some other way? What if there was an easier way to reach new audiences? Let's explore the next big challenge for game developers: declining profit margins, which is a fancy way to say making less money over time. You already know the root causes. Many marketers today operate within very thin ROI margins. The continuously changing policies of the platforms make their performance marketing a tricky thing to do. The IDFA rollout will add a lot of uncertainty to the market as well. Therefore, marketing budgets might get even crazier. Many of the current business models might become not viable. According to AppsFlyer, game developers spent $22 billion in 2019 on ads targeted for app installs, and they predict that will increase to $48 billion by 2022. Platforms already take a big chunk out of your profits, up to 30% in fees. If you add taxes, refunds, and fraud on top of that, the actual payout to the developer can be less than 60%. Lars Wingefors, the CEO of Embracer, recently said in a statement that fees paid to most platforms are more than 2 times the actual cost spent on game development in the past fiscal year. And similar to Epic Games taking on Apple, he plans to challenge these models in an effort to reduce costs. The cherry on top is that industry professionals like artists, engineers, and producers are getting more and more expensive, which leads to bigger costs to operate a game in a competitive environment. The next big challenge that you're up against as a developer is lack of control over the user experience. Everything a player sees and interacts with before they get into a game is dependent on how it's set up by the platform. From the way your mobile game title shows up on the search result page, to the download page, to the payment process, there is very little you have control over. It's difficult to customize for all of your players' needs, for example, something like their payment preferences. According to the credit reporting company Experian, 3 out of every 5 buyers use a mobile wallet to make digital payments. That number is growing quickly, especially given the circumstances of the last year, and our own Xsolla data is aligned with those statistics. As of last year, there were almost 200 digital wallets around the world, with leading companies like Alipay, WeChat, Grab, Paytm, and of course, PayPal. In many countries, digital wallets are actually more common than using a bank or a traditional credit card. Digital wallets provide services beyond just paying for goods and services, but allow users to transfer money peer-to-peer and aggregate other payment methods together in one easy-to-use experience. In addition to payments, you have to think about localization. Usually, that means obvious things like translating to local language, but it also includes things like regional pricing and distribution. People in different countries get used to different checkout flows. That is also part of the localization experience. To offer your players a better user experience or even reach more players, you'll need a little more help than the platforms can provide. And you'll need to explore additional avenues to expand online. So how can you address all of these issues? In my opinion, going from mobile to web is the best course of action to diversify risks of uncertainty in the market and to find a new niche where you can control your success. That's the trend I mentioned at the beginning of this talk. And there are several things to take into consideration when you do this. It's best to start with a full port of your mobile game to the web. That way, players can enjoy your game on whatever devices they prefer. When you port your mobile game, there are several technical considerations you need to be aware of. First, the average smartphone right now is more powerful than an average PC. It may seem unbelievable, but it's true. That's one of the main reasons that there are normal computers out there and then there are gaming PCs with higher specs. When users are playing mobile game, there are little limitations on the memory usage they have to worry about. But on an average PC, you need to consider this because your game will be more limited when it runs inside a web browser. That means the web version of your game will need to be smaller in size to avoid performance issues. Consider things like your game's textures and resolution. You will need to find an optimal size so there won't be problems rendering it. On a phone or tablet, you can play games horizontally with both hands or vertically with one hand, using your fingers to interact with the interface. That presents a tactile change you have to deal with when you port the game. How will your game functionally play inside a browser? Will you need to change gameplay mechanics? You need to consider all of this as you bring your game to the web to make sure it is playable for as many players as possible. Regardless of these challenges, the truth is that expanding a mobile game business beyond a single game app is a natural evolution for developers. And self-publishing gives you opportunities to address these challenges and helps you solve a lot of problems. Self-publishing a mobile game to the web won't make you rich overnight, nor will it become your main source of revenue. But a multi-platform approach will extend the life of your mobile game and help generate additional revenue. It can even reinvigorate your older titles and give them a chance to find a new audience. Expanding your mobile game to the web gives you more control over what you can do, both short-term and long-term. You can connect to affiliate networks and influencers, run marketing campaigns how you want and when you want, connect directly to your players, for example, with news and update section or targeted email marketing. But in addition to all of the benefits above, there is something very unique you can do with Xsolla. We call the product a digital distribution hub. You can put all your games or SKUs into e-wallets, banks, or distribute them through ISPs and carriers. We have been placing games into these unique venues since 2011 to help our partners connect to global distribution channels and expand their business. With the rise of wallets and neobanks that want to become super apps, there is no better time to speak about this unique opportunity than now. For those who don't know, let's take a quick look at what a super app is. A super app is an all-in-one experience that grants access to many different types of services. Services like food or grocery delivery, bill payments, social media, and of course, entertainment. This super app trend has become viral since WeChat began hosting multiple mini apps and basically established its own self-contained app-based ecosystem. Within that ecosystem, businesses had the opportunity to directly connect to more than 1 billion users. All they had to do was add their offerings to the WeChat portfolio of goods and services. Over time, the WeChat ecosystem became such an essential part of its users' daily lives that it was easier for them to pay for goods through WeChat than anywhere else. Since then, we've seen more and more fintech companies becoming super apps. Almost all digital wallets in Southeast Asia have expanded their services beyond being single-purpose payment instruments. And in the last few years, they also started offering games as one of their services. Digital wallets like Grab, Gojek, Ovo, and Dana, you might know these brands, but I'm sure you probably know Uber or PayPal. And you've probably heard that both companies are now on a quest to become the first super apps of the West. So obviously, online banks also have to keep up with this trend if they want to remain competitive. And they're doing it. Challenger banks like Revolut already call themselves a super app. They constantly add more products and services to their app. These challenger banks are also gaining momentum in the US, like Chime, which is based in San Francisco and is already the 5th biggest bank in the country. That's no small feat when you think about the power of traditional banks, which, by the way, are also starting to embrace a digital transformation of their own. For example, Sberbank, which is the largest bank in Russia and Eastern Europe, has a super app already. Their super app lets users top up in-game accounts and earn shopping perks like discounts and loyalty points. You can even pay your taxes there. This opportunity is even bigger than you might think. Now your game will get highly visible placement in an app that is regularly used to make payments with a potential audience of over 500 million players around the world. There is no fraud, transactions are instant and can be controlled by parents. You can also run promotions to engage players, and all of these are available in a revenue sharing model, so you only pay when a player makes a purchase. And look at the additional opportunities you have in a digital distribution hub. Users will be able to buy your games with loyalty program points, with telecom apps, on other e-commerce marketplaces, across social networks, and even an ATM. New platforms and super apps are created all the time for you to take advantage of, and we keep track of all of them for our partners. We can help you take advantage of this opportunity, the same way we helped Steam when we enabled them to seamlessly connect to e-wallets, cash kiosks, and banking apps. Steam had our digital distribution infrastructure in place since 2011. That's when they began to accept payments through a network of cash kiosks in Russia and the CIS region. This allowed Xsolla to place Steam on digital storefronts with no upfront cost or resources. Since starting this integration, Steam has experienced 12 times the growth with over 5 million successful payments. Digital distribution is available to companies from all over the world, large and small, and it can be used with any monetization model, and we can help. To sum everything up, taking your game from mobile to web can give you benefits such as full control over your audience, increased profit margins, a new audience that plays games primarily on the web, and the unique opportunity we offer integrating your game or SKU into super apps along with ISPs and carriers. After all, digital distribution is not just about digital wallets and online banks. It helps you to take your game beyond traditional platforms and reach new users in new markets. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I've given you some interesting things to think about as you consider these challenges. And I also hope you're as excited about the future of mobile game development as I am. There is so much happening in this industry, and we want to inspire you to be part of it as it grows and changes. The potential has never been greater than it is right now. Feel free to reach out with any questions, comments, or if you would like to learn more. You can reach us at business@xsolla.com. We're happy to schedule a time with you and see how we can help you expand your video game commerce. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of GDC.